After confessing my love to my childhood sweetheart, Orion, he took me to meet a bright and gorgeous woman. Her name was Serena, and she was his arranged marriage partner. Orion said that Serena's family was extremely wealthy and could give great assistance to his career, while I was just an orphan who couldn't offer him anything. I didn't understand. Does love have to be mixed with interests? He didn't give me an answer. In my previous life, I stubbornly searched for all kinds of clues to prove that he loved me, until Serena hired some bugs to break my legs. When he saw the pleading look in my eyes, he turned around expressionlessly and left. I was completely hopelessness. In the end, I couldn't continue dancing due to my injuries, and I died of depression, committing suicide by taking medicine. At the moment of being reborn, without hesitation, I accepted the invitation from a foreign ballet group and retreated to the position of his childhood friend. When the signing was successful, I could finally breathe. My fingers were trembling slightly, and tears were welling up in my eyes. But I didn't even notice. No one knew that I had been reborn. 1 second before I was about to confess to Orion. That day, I personally designed a light purple dress and carefully decorated the entire party venue. I invited a group of friends who had grown up together to witness this special moment. Orion and I grew up together. After my parents died in a car accident, his family took in the helpless me. Since then, we ate, lived, and were inseparable. His figure was everywhere in my life's trajectory. When I was happy, he laughed with me. When I was sad, he gave me his shoulder. Everyone said that we were a perfect match and would be together sooner or later. In my previous life, my girlfriends knew I was going to confess, and they even racked their brains to offer suggestions, making me blush. I secretly looked forward to it in my heart. But no one expected that Orion would reject me. Orion seemed to have guessed what I was thinking. He lowered his head and played with the wine glass in his hand, his brows slightly furrowed, as if thinking about how to start. His eyes were flickering. I thought he would say that we had been together for too long and might have mistaken dependence for love. So I summoned up the courage and said, Orion, I'm very clear about my feelings. It's not a momentary impulse. Nor is it out of habit. To me, you are the most special existence. The person I want to spend my life with. I'm sure this is love. My friends were just about to throw flowers to celebrate, but the atmosphere suddenly froze. And that day, I still had a smile on my face, but there was no warmth in my eyes. Just as he was about to speak, I said first, Orion, I won the gold award in the ballet competition. Today is to celebrate that. Orion stood there stunned. Everyone looked at each other, not knowing whether to release the streamers and fireworks in their hands. I gently shook my head. Everyone awkwardly put away the prepared celebration props. And the atmosphere suddenly turned cold. Confession came to nothing. After the party ended, Orion was drinking with his childhood friend on the terrace. He leaned against the railing, and his slender fingers gently tapped on the goblet. The red wine in the glass glimmered in the moonlight. His childhood friend teased, Bro, I thought Echo was going to give you a surprise just now. Turned out it was a false alarm. Orion took a sip of wine and a helpless smile curved his lips. You're overthinking it. We're just friends who grew up together. I have no other feelings for her. His childhood friend pursed his lips, clearly not believing it. What are you pretending to be confused about? The way she looks at you is so obvious. Are we all blind? If there's really nothing going on, then why did you send that junior who was chasing her to the hospital? And you said it was because you were protecting her as her brother. Orion remained silent. I hid in the shadow of the terrace and laughed soundlessly. That's how he was in my previous life. His feelings for me clearly went beyond the boundaries. But he still refused to admit it. After returning to the room, I opened the invitation from the foreign ballet group. My childhood dream was to become an excellent ballet dancer. It's just that in my previous life, I lost everything before I could even start chasing my dream. Fortunately, this time, I could start over. I looked at the date on the email and then at the calendar. I made a special mark on that day, which happened to be Orion's birthday. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. It was Orion. After he came in, a woman was following behind him. Serena was wearing a Chanel suit and had a delicate makeup. There was a hint of arrogance in her eyes. And her every move exuded the demeanor of a socialite. Echo. Come here for a moment. He said gently. I didn't move. Just gave Serena a cold glance. I had thought that by avoiding that confession, he wouldn't bring her to meet me so soon. It seemed that some things were destined to happen. Echo. Orion frowned slightly and called me again. Seeing my cold expression, Serena smiled gracefully. Orion. It doesn't matter. It's normal that Echo doesn't like me on our first meeting. If she minds, I can go back to the hotel first. After all, our engagement has just been settled, and we need time to get used to it. As she spoke, there were glistening tears in her eyes. But she stubbornly held them back. She was just like a bullied little white rabbit. Orion's brows furrowed even more, and his gaze towards me was filled with reproach. Echo. Orion. It's your business who you want to let live in. I have no right to interfere. This is your home, and I'm just an orphan living under someone else's roof. My tone was calm, and no emotion could be heard, but to Orion's ears, every word was like a thorn. He thought I was throwing a tantrum. Echo. You know I've always treated you like a little sister. I brought Serena to meet you today because I want you to know my future wife. This marriage is related to the future of the family. If you still want us to be like we used to be, don't be willful. He gave me a warning look. I opened my mouth but didn't say anything in the end. In fact, I couldn't really blame him entirely. I had an extremely strong possessiveness towards Orion. From childhood to adulthood, I hoped that there would only be me in his world. So over the years, there had never been any gossip about him. Even if a woman tried to get close, I would secretly drive her away. All his special treatment was exclusively mine. So in my previous life, when he was going to marry Serena, I collapsed. Does a business cooperation really have to come at the cost of an arranged marriage? I thought about it day and night. I paid the price of my life. I still couldn't figure it out. Now I understand that some things just don't have an answer. Serena was going to move in the room next to Orion's, which was the place where I had lived since I was a child. When the Orion family adopted me, Orion's father specially hired a designer to redecorate the entire room. It was transformed into a warm and romantic ballet-themed room. He also bought a lot of ballet dresses and decorations to furnish my room. And Orion had been doting on me as his little sister since then. He always said, Echo, Echo. We grew up together. I'm your strongest support. If anyone bullies you, you must tell me. You're going to become the best ballerina. And I'll always be your most loyal fan. The tenderness in his eyes at that time made me intoxicated. But he always kept himself completely detached. In the room, when Orion leaned against the door and gave me a cold look. The guest room downstairs has been tidied up. You can stay there for now. I packed my luggage in silence. When I was about to take the ballet ornaments on the dressing table, my hand stopped in my drawer. Orion's gaze also fell on those ornaments. Seeing that I didn't move for a long time, he said, I'll help you move these downstairs later. I took a deep breath and shook my head. Forget it. Just leave them here. Since I didn't want Orion anymore, these things had also lost their meaning. The sincere feelings in the past had now become a bubble. Echo, Echo. Are you still angry with me? Orion asked coldly. Why should I be angry with you? I retorted. You should also have your own life. Now you have the career you want and a person you want to protect. I should be happy for you. Orion's eyes darkened, and he seemed to want to say something but held back. When I dragged my suitcase and left, Serena was standing at the end of the corridor. The look in her eyes when she looked at me was filled with a bit of contempt, just like in my previous life. She pretended to be so gentle and generous on the surface, but she always caused trouble for me behind my back and played the victim at every turn. The tears of the weak could always easily win sympathy. Echo. I know you're not feeling good, but Orion is my fiancé. So he arranged it this way. I was just about to drag my suitcase and leave when Serena suddenly reached out and grabbed my hand. I instinctively shook off her hand. Unexpectedly, she lost her balance. Help! Serena stumbled and crashed into the base stand in the corridor. The sound of the porcelain and breaking alerted the whole villa. Orion. Come quickly, Orion rushed over at the sound. He pushed me aside and quickly supported the staggering Serena. I stood there stunned. My voice trembling, I didn't mean to. Serena's face turned pale. And she was shivering in Orion's arms. Orion. I feel so dizzy. My head hurts so much. There were tears in her eyes. And she was clearly quite frightened. Orion soothed Serena and then turned around and glared at me coldly. Echo. What on earth do you want to do? If Serena gets scratched by the fragments and disfigured, can you take the responsibility? I bit my lip and held back my tears. I really didn't mean to hurt her. She grabbed my hand first. And I just wanted to break free. Upon hearing this, Serena sobbed and said, "It's my fault. Orion. Don't blame Echo. I just wanted to talk to her so much that this happened." Serena. Don't make excuses for her. Orion said coldly. She's always like this. Whenever a woman approaches me these years, she will try every means to drive them away. I couldn't help but laugh. But the tears kept falling, so. Orion. You think I'm lying? Do you deserve my trust? He retorted. Yes, had it. I don't deserve it. In your heart. Only Serena is right. And everything she says is true. After saying that, I pulled my suitcase and turned to leave. Orion asked the servant to stop me and said coldly, "Apologize." I looked back at him in disbelief. He repeated, "Serena was frightened and for no reason. And you should apologize." "What if I don't?" I asked with teary eyes. I thought that after being reborn, I could face all this calmly. But I still overestimated myself. When all the former doting turned into hurt, it really hurt. I'm saying this one more time. Apologize. Orion said coldly. I laughed at myself. I let go of the suitcase and bowed deeply to Serena. It was my fault today. I shouldn't have shaken off your hand when you pulled me. I'm sorry for scaring you. Serena was taken aback for a moment. And Orion's expression also became complicated. I straightened up and looked at Orion. Orion. Is this enough? Or do you want me to disfigure myself as an apology to your fiend key? Orion's eyes flickered. And in the end, he said nothing. I dragged my suitcase and left silently. Just as I reached downstairs, Vivian chased after me and said, "The young master might have been too hasty today." Miss. Don't be angry with the young master. We've all seen how much he's doted on you over the years. While speaking in Orion's favor, she tried to take my luggage. I forced a bitter smile. In the past, when I quarreled with Orion, Vivian always acted as a peacemaker. And it had been like this for so many years. But Orion and I can never go back to the way we were. Miss. Aren't you going into the room? She asked tentatively. I gently shook my head, no need. But the young master. Please help me thank Orion for taking care of me all these years. From now on, we don't owe each other anything. In this life, let it end here. I don't want to experience the pain of my past life again. After settling Serena down, Orion called Vivian and asked her to bring up the surveillance footage of the corridor. Vivian hesitated to speak. In fact, he believed in Echo. Although over the years she would use some means to drive away the women who got close to him, it wasn't too excessive. She knew where to draw the line. So when he saw that it was Serena who started the trouble first, he didn't react too much. He still needed the backing of Serena's family. Without the help of Serena's family, the Orion family might go bankrupt. As long as Serena didn't go too far, he could tolerate her. I knew Miss wouldn't hurt anyone on purpose. Vivian couldn't help but say. Orion rubbed his temples. I'll go and see Echo. But Miss has already left. Orion was stunned. What? Miss asked me to tell you that she's grateful for your care over the years. And from now on, you don't owe each other anything. Vivian said meaningfully. Orion didn't blame her, but just sighed wearily. That's just like Echo. She can't stand even a little bit of grievance. He asked Vivian to prepare dinner. He called Echo. But Echo never answered. The more he called, the more irritable he became. Finally, having fulfilled lay and sigh, he slammed his phone down on the table. In fact, since half a month ago, on the day he thought Echo was going to confess her love to him, he had started to feel inexplicably anxious. Every time he saw Echo's cold eyes and heard her distant tone, he always felt that something was getting out of control. Now, all the mysteries were about to be revealed. I wasn't surprised that Orion could find me. There were still 10 days until I reported to the ballet group. After leaving the mansion, I rented a small apartment on my own. Orion stood downstairs, holding a cigarette between his fingers. His brows furrowed. I had just come back from dance practice when I saw him. "Are you done practicing?" I nodded and didn't say anything more. Suddenly, it became eerily quiet around us. He was waiting for me to speak, but I had nothing to say. The ringtone of my phone broke the silence. It was Serena calling. Orion didn't try to hide it from me and answered the phone directly. "Orion, there's a problem with the project negotiation. The other party is asking to see you in person. I can't handle it on my own. Can you come over?" Her tone was anxious. Orion, however, instinctively looked at me. By then, it was already late at night. I looked down at the shadow of mine that was elongated by the streetlight on the ground, my expression indifferent. After a long while, I heard him say, "I'll be there right away." The call ended. Orion reached out to pull me, but I frowned and dodged. His hand froze in my drawer. When he looked at me, a trace of confusion flashed in his eyes. He probably forgot. Those once intimate moments were because I regarded him as the person I loved the most. "Orion, you have a flying key now. Let's keep our distance from each other." My tone was calm. Orion sneered and retracted his hand, shoving it into his pocket. "Echo, you'll always be the most important person to me. The friendship of all these years can't be replaced by anyone. Serena is a different kind of existence. You both have your own places in my heart. Give each other some time. Okay?" I remained silent. In my past life, ever since Serena appeared, Orion and I had never had a proper conversation. Whenever we met, there would be a quarrel. He said I was being unreasonable and that I couldn't tell the difference between friendship and love. He pushed me away step by step, but I was like a tireless dog, persistently chasing after him. Even when I was hurt all over by the most hurtful words. My friends, his friends, all tried to persuade me, "Orion doesn't love you. Why don't you understand? He likes Serena." I would always defend with tears in my eyes that it wasn't true. That Orion loved me. That winter, when I had a high fever and fell into a coma, he stayed by my side all night. Before he left, he whispered in my ear, "When you get better, I'll take you to see the aurora." I had always believed that Orion was only going to marry Serena for the sake of using her family's power. Until that day, some thugs in the bar wanted to take me away. I didn't know them at all and couldn't understand why they were trying to grab me. Until the leader said that it was Serena who sent them. It suddenly dawned on me. Serena had sent them to break my legs. I refused to go, crying, and my pale knuckles clung tightly to the hem of Orion's clothes. His cold voice sounded, "Let go." He watched indifferently as I was dragged away, as my legs were broken right in front of him. He listened to my cries of pain. He didn't even frown. At that moment, I finally realized that Orion didn't love me. "What are you thinking about?" Orion's words broke the silence. My thoughts were pulled back to reality. "Echo, we need to have a good talk about what's between us. We grew up together since we were kids. And I know your temper best." After saying that, he opened the car door and looked at me. I didn't move at all, and a bitter smile tugged at the corner of my mouth. I suddenly wanted to ask him about what he did in my past life. Why could he watch so indifferently as I was in excruciating pain, as I became increasingly depressed, and finally died of depression? Even if he didn't love me, we were childhood sweethearts who grew up together. "Orion, I've figured it out. Perhaps my persistence all these years has really been too much. You and Serena are a good match, and I wish you both happiness." Orion frowned. Echo, actually, you've always known how I feel." I interrupted him. His pupils suddenly contracted. My feelings for him had been obvious all these years, and everyone could see it clearly. I was convinced that he already knew it well. "Echo." He showed a look of embarrassment. "Don't say anything. Let the past be the past. We've all grown up. and it's time to learn to let go. I hope you can be happy. After saying that, I smiled again. Orion, however, stood there like he had lost his soul, as if what I just said was hard for him to understand. He opened his mouth, about to speak, then the ringtone of his phone came from his pocket. It was particularly piercing in the silent night, ringing one after another. He didn't seem to have come to his senses yet. I slowly stepped back and turned to leave. Orion looked at Echo's gradually blurring back and suddenly felt a sense of bewilderment. He fumbled for a cigarette and lit another one. Only after taking a deep drag did he become a little more sober. He looked up. The light from the apartment upstairs shone through the curtains, casting Echo's shadow. 5 years ago, Echo had a high fever and was hospitalized. He stayed in the ward, looking at the comatose girl, his heart aching. At that moment, he made a promise to take her to see the aurora. The girl showed a sweet smile in her dream. He and Echo grew up together and went to school together. Over the years, although he had tacitly allowed Echo's intimacy, he had also been constantly reminding her not to confuse friendship with love, and not to mistake attachment for true love. Moreover, Echo's parents had killed his mother all those years ago, and this secret had weighed on his heart for a long time. He couldn't get over this hurdle and be with Echo. This situation had left him in a difficult position. When he remembered the look in his mother's eyes before she passed away, he knew that this relationship was never going to work. Since that was the case, it was better not to start it. After he left the hospital, he went abroad the next day. The company suddenly fell into a crisis and was on the verge of bankruptcy. In the most difficult times, Serena's family extended a helping hand. There was only one condition: he had to marry Serena. This was the painstaking effort left by his parents, and he couldn't just watch it be destroyed. With his character, he shouldn't have compromised. But for the livelihoods of the thousands of people in the company, he agreed to this condition. But he didn't tell Echo in advance. The reason was simple. He was afraid that Echo would cause trouble and that she would make things difficult for Serena. This time, bringing Serena back home was, first, to fulfill the marriage contract. And second, he had sensed that Echo was going to confess her love to him. He wanted Echo to give up when she realized the difficulties. There was a chasm between them that could never be crossed. But now, Echo had stepped back. A pang of regret welled up in his heart. When Orion returned to the mansion, Serena was on the phone with a business partner. She was wearing a business suit and looked tired. Apparently, hadn't Heartfeltly. She had been busy with this project all day. Have you reached an agreement on the terms with the partner? Orion asked. Serena put down her phone and said softly, they insist on seeing you in person. Orion, where did you go today? I called you many times but no one answered. Serena. Orion stood in front of the desk and looked at her calmly. There was no warmth in his eyes at all. She looked up. Echo and I grew up together since we were kids. She's like my family. Over the years, we have too many memories together. When I agreed to be with you, I already said this. I'm very grateful for what you've done for the company. But please don't interfere with Echo's life. After hearing this, Serena's eyes immediately turned red, and she looked at Orion aggrieved. Orion, do you really think I would do such a thing? Orion didn't say anything more. There are cameras in every corner, and everything is recorded. Serena stood there, stunned, and couldn't come to her senses for a long time. She thought that Orion was clearly on her side that day and believed her. But she didn't expect that her little tricks had long been seen through. After going upstairs, Orion didn't return to his own room. Instead, he went to Echo's previous bedroom. After Serena moved in, everything in Echo's room had changed. Those ballet ornaments that Echo cherished had been put away, and the cute and warm decorations had been replaced with simple hanging paintings. Vivian. Orion called Vivian. Vivian came over quickly. Seeing Orion standing by the window, she asked, young master, what do you need? Just as he was about to speak, his gaze accidentally fell on the photo frame on the windowsill. In the photo frame was a group photo of him and Echo watching the aurora. He picked up the photo frame and gently wiped the dust off it. After seeing this, Vivian said, Miss always put this photo on the bedside. She said that you fulfilled your promise and took her to see the aurora. Orion stared at the photo. And a gentle smile appeared on his lips. After a moment of silence, he turned to Vivian and said, "Redecorate the guest room on the first floor. Serena will live there from now on. I will decorate this room myself. When Echo comes back, everything should be the same as before." Vivian smiled and agreed. However, Serena, who had just reached the door, turned pale instantly. There were still 7 days until reporting to the dance troupe. All kinds of work had been almost handed over. Unexpectedly, Serena would suddenly visit the theater. She didn't look as good as before after just a few days of not seeing her. "Do you have something to talk to me about?" I asked her. Serena was overbearing. And the disgust in her eyes was undisguised. No longer pretending. She looked at me and said, "Echo, I'm about to get engaged to Orion. Can you stay away from him? Is this the upbringing of your family? To be a third party interfering in other people's relationships?" My hand holding the pen paused for a moment. I raised my eyes to look at the woman in front of me. And a hint of sarcasm appeared on my lips. "Serena, you'd better watch your words." "I should watch my words? Only if you behave properly. Echo, I know exactly what you're planning. Everyone knows that you like Orion. You moved out of the Orion family now just to play hard to get. I'm telling you, Orion won't like you. He won't like you in this lifetime. He can't like the daughter of his enemy." Serena became more and more excited as she spoke. I was stunned. And then couldn't help but sneer. So the reason why he never accepted me, and even watched as my legs were broken, was that I was the daughter of his enemy. With the mystery solved, my feelings for Orion were completely gone. In my previous life, I had almost no interaction with Serena. I knew her true nature. Like me, she would stop at nothing for the person she loved. I had long seen through the calculations in her eyes and her tricks. But I was too naive at that time. Only when people are about to lose the person they cherish will they try their best to save the situation. In my previous life, with just a few provocative words from her, even though I fought against her despite my injuries, Orion remained indifferent. In this life, I haven't done anything. Yet it made Orion unable to forget me. These days, Orion has sent greetings frequently. He told me that he redesigned my room for me. It's exactly the same as before. Nothing has changed. Just like when I left. And just like before. He has someone send me my favorite cake every day. Do you think Orion loves me? No. I also know that there are surveillance cameras at home. With Orion's personality, he would not investigate. But he showed no reaction after the investigation. This can only mean that he acquiesced in the fact that Serena bullied me. The current changes are just because he is used to my existence. Nothing more. After a long silence, I said, "I can't like him anymore either." Serena. Serena was suddenly taken aback. And her originally excited emotions gradually subsided. "What did you say?" I admit that the previous Orion was very good. Since we were children, whenever I was wronged, he would stand up for me. He was afraid that I would get hurt or be sad. Except for my parents. He was the best person to me in the world. So it was only natural for me to fall in love with him. But that day, even though he knew I was wronged, he still forced me to apologize to you. At that moment, my heart was already dead. Serena seemed a bit confused and looked at me with tears in her eyes. "Is that all?" I nodded. "That's all. If the person I love tolerates me suffering and being humiliated, then he doesn't deserve my love." Before Serena left that day, she confirmed again, "No matter what Orion does, you won't change your mind?" I replied, "Yes. Even if he is willing to sacrifice his life for me, I won't be attracted to him anymore." The day before reporting, while waiting for the flight, Orion sent a message. "I'll pick you up later." I didn't reply. The other side showed the input status. But there was no further message for a long time. Just as I was about to put away my phone, Orion suddenly called. His tone was somewhat cheerful. "Echo, I'll be there soon. There might be a bit of traffic on the way." I didn't say anything. And I could only hear the hustle and bustle of the street on his side. The honking of vehicles on the street came one after another. At this time, The boarding reminder sounded again in the airport. His breathing suddenly stagnated. After a moment, he asked softly, Echo, are you at the airport? Yes. What's going on? Are you going abroad for a performance? Why didn't you tell me in advance? Did you forget that tomorrow is my birthday? Orion. I interrupted him calmly. And he fell silent immediately. I added, I'm going to pursue my ballet dream. And I'm not sure when I'll be back. Thank you for taking care of me all these years. After being reborn, I thought about taking revenge on Orion and making him taste the pain of having his legs broken. I also thought about dying together with those who hurt me. But my life is still long. So why cling to these grudges? Orion did treat me sincerely. And I will remember this feeling. Let's just consider it even. So now, I neither love nor hate him. Why? Why is it so sudden? After a long time. He asked me. I didn't answer. And he continued. Echo? If it's because of Serena, I can explain. But you can't leave. His voice was anxious. And the hustle and bustle of the street became even more piercing. Echo. Wait a little longer. I'll be there soon. It's too late. I chuckled and then hung up the phone. The moment I turned off my phone, the pent-up feelings of many years finally dissipated. Finally. All of this can come to an end. Orion stared at the call-ended interface and dialed again and again. But only heard the cold prompt tone. Echo had turned off her phone. At this moment, his thoughts were clearer than ever. Echo was really going to leave him. The moment this realization hit him, he slammed his hand on the steering wheel and roughly pulled his tie loose. The pain in his chest was unbearable. And his rapid breathing couldn't relieve it. Just as he was about to contact his assistant to inquire about the flight information, Serena's call rang again. In her crying voice, there was a lot of intention to persuade him to stay. These days, he finally saw many things clearly. The grudges of the previous generation shouldn't be vented on the next generation. Echo didn't do anything wrong. And business assistance doesn't need to be maintained through an arranged marriage. He could give Serena's family more benefits. And it didn't matter if he suffered a little loss. Except for his true feelings. He had never thought that Echo was so important to him. Until now. With Echo's departure, he realized that she had already occupied his entire heart. That girl who could dance the most beautiful Swan Lake on the stage and show the brightest smile in front of him. He always reminded Echo with the identity of a friend not to confuse friendship and love. But he himself couldn't even distinguish his own feelings. At this moment, he was burning with anxiety to find Echo. He wanted to tell her that he loved her very much. It was all his fault before. And it would never happen again. Never again. The moment he learned the flight information, Orion immediately booked a plane ticket. Just as he was about to drive to the airport, he collided head-on with a truck. After the car accident, he was in a coma for a whole week. When he woke up, Serena was the only one by his bedside. When she met his gaze, she was rarely flustered. Orion's eyes were as cold as ice and sharp. She trembled and said, Orion, are you feeling unwell? Orion didn't respond. He took the phone and unlocked it. He hadn't heard from Echo for a week. A sarcastic smile tugged at the corner of his mouth, and his eyes suddenly became empty. In a state of blurred consciousness, he fell into an endless dreamland. In the dreamland, after she confessed her love, he brought Serena home and said that she was his future wife. He dreamed of Echo coming to him again and again, saying that she loved him, and having open and secret struggles with Serena. Later, he saw Echo being dragged away, crying helplessly and calling for his help. Her legs were cruelly broken, and he blamed Echo for the mistakes her parents made, thinking that she should be punished. So he watched coldly. Clearly, having fulfilled my obsession, his heart was aching as if he were about to die. But he still pretended not to care. In the dream, Echo could no longer stand up and lost the stage forever. He watched as Echo sat in a wheelchair every day, staring blankly at the dance studio and crying inexplicably. He watched as she hurt herself again and again, and the scars on her wrists became deeper and deeper. Clearly, hadn't fulfilled my sigh. When Echo said, I want to become the best ballerina, He promised to always protect her and the legs that allowed her to pursue her dream. But in the end, he became the one who destroyed her. He didn't dare to face Echo. He was afraid that Echo would look at him with cold eyes, and that he would never find a trace of warmth in her eyes again. Despair swept over him when she tried to commit suicide by cutting her wrists for the first time. But he also understood that everything could never go back. Echo died at the age of 24. And he finally didn't marry Serena. Even though she threatened to withdraw her investment, he remained indifferent. He insisted on marrying Echo. People all spurned his shamelessness and accused him of having killed his childhood sweetheart and still wanting to possess her. Yet he still persisted. The wedding venue was decorated grandly and magnificently. However, no one attended the wedding. He held Echo's ashes and completed the wedding. And finally ended his life at the wedding as well. 3 months later. When Orion found me, I was stunned. I had just finished rehearsing. When I looked up, I saw him. He had lost a lot of weight. The suit that used to fit him well now hung loosely on his body. And he looked emaciated. He forced a smile on his pale face. I slightly frowned and kept a distance from him. "How have you been recently?" He greeted me awkwardly. I nodded. I had heard a little about what happened to Orion. On the day I left, he got into a car accident. After waking up, he forcefully terminated the engagement. Serena didn't want to agree and made a big scene. Orion never compromised. In a fit of anger, Serena's family withdrew their investment, publicly revealed the Orion family's business secrets, and also cooperated with the Orion family's competitors. Overnight, he was besieged on all sides. The stock price of the Orion family plummeted. The capital chain broke, and the projects came to a halt. It took him half a year of continuous struggle to barely stabilize the situation. "When will you come back?" he asked again, his tone cautious. I smiled and said, "I'm not going back." He was taken aback. "Why? You're home." "Orion, you've forgotten. I don't have a home there anymore. Since my parents passed away, I've long had no home. Whether in my past life or this life, I'm destined to be alone." Orion wanted to say something more. But I didn't listen any further and left in a hurry with the dance troupe members who had just come in. 6 hours had passed by the time I finished my training. I thought he had already left long ago. Unexpectedly, Orion was still standing there, persistently waiting for me. There were indescribable emotions hidden in his eyes. I didn't understand. And I didn't want to understand what he was really trying to do. Until he followed me downstairs to the apartment and asked, "Did it hurt a lot when your legs were broken?" In an instant, I stopped in my tracks. And my legs trembled involuntarily. He looked at my back. His voice choking, I said, "Why did my Echo suddenly abandon me?" "Forgive me, Echo. I was wrong. I thought I didn't love you. But he choked up halfway through his words. He covered his eyes. And tears spilled out from between his fingers. His shoulders shook violently, as if he was in extreme pain. Hatred blinded my eyes and made me unable to see my own heart clearly. I didn't expect things to turn out like this. Please forgive me. I made you bear so much pain alone and be strong all by yourself for so long." His voice was hoarse. He approached me cautiously, trying to hold my hand. I instinctively took a step back and turned to look at Orion. Why dwell on the past? I have already started a new life. And Orion will also have his own path in the future. It's just that we won't have any more intersections. Orion. People always have to look forward. After saying these words, the last glimmer of hope in Orion's eyes completely faded away. "Echo." He smiled bitterly and said, "I'm sorry. Goodbye, Orion." After Echo said the last word, she turned around and left without hesitation. Orion instinctively took out the lighter from his pocket, wanting to light a cigarette, but he couldn't get the lighter to work no matter how hard he tried. The wind in late autumn was cold, and the dust blew into his eyes, making him cry uncontrollably from the stinging pain. Echo returned to the dance troupe dormitory and walked to the window. Just as she did, he happened to look up. She seemed to feel his gaze. She lowered her head, and at the moment their eyes met, she smiled calmly, put away the dancing clothes that were drying, turned around, and closed the window. Her movements were decisive and without the slightest bit of reluctance. At this moment, he finally understood that he had been completely excluded from Echo's life. She would never be attracted to him again. Thinking of this, he suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood and fainted downstairs of her dormitory. All the past events had become like floating clouds. Life and death are determined by fate. And so is the bond between people. The end. My cousin, who had just come of age, was obsessed with the culture of manjiao, a fictional social media platform similar to Douyin. Not only did she imitate internet celebrities by starting lip broadcasts, but she also dressed provocatively and chatted online with some shady people. Crop tops for the exam, manjiao style makeup, and being a so-called toilet warrior were all her favorites. I was well aware of the harm caused by such online dross. So I firmly asked my aunt to take away her mobile phone. As a result, my cousin missed the video of her and Jowie idol recruiting disciples. Later, the spiritual girl in that team successfully became popular, achieving financial freedom by doing the flower hand dance. My cousin hated me for taking away her mobile phone, which she thought had severed her romance with the cold and aloof Buddhist guy. My aunt hated me for meddling in her business, believing that I had ruined my cousin's promising future. The two of them jointly pushed me off the rooftop. Given a second chance, I coldly watched as my cousin used a red scarf as a tube top. I smiled and praised her. You were born to make a living in the online world. Thank you, Big Brother, for the shining stars. Remember to send me a private message after the live broadcast to get the welfare photos. My mother and I were sitting in my aunt's living room, and my cousin's voice came from the small room beside us from time to time. What is this child up to again? I'll call her out. My aunt looked at the boxes of gifts in her hands and couldn't stop smiling. But as soon as she opened the door, the scene in the room shocked everyone present. My cousin was wearing a strange off-the-shoulder tube top on her upper body, and there was a mobile phone placed on a selfie stick in front of her. The combination of her childish and playful temperament with the sexy clothes made her look extremely strange. But she felt good about herself and would occasionally make a heart gesture and spin around in front of the camera. My aunt was immediately filled with anger and stepped forward a few steps to take the mobile phone away. Stella, you're secretly playing with the phone again. And you're even wearing my clothes. Are you asking for a spanking? My cousin pouted and put her hands on her hips, narrowing her small, triangular eyes and looking defiantly unyielding. So what? So what? You guys are so old-fashioned. Stop being so uncool, okay? It's really my misfortune to be born into such a family of origin. My mother smiled awkwardly and tried to smooth things over. Children like to be beautiful. Just give her a good education. Don't be angry. I stood aside, saying nothing, because in my previous life, as a teacher, I could tell at a glance that my cousin had been deeply poised and by the manjiao culture. I picked up her mobile phone and examined it carefully. Using a red scarf as a tube top, mixing menstrual blood with rice. The daily life of post-zeros couples after getting pregnant. The Didio's favorite D and saved in my cousin's manjiao account were simply be a sight for sore eyes. The combined ages of a family of 3 were even smaller than my shoe size. Is this even Chinese? I immediately explained the pros and cons to my aunt in detail and strongly urged my aunt to confiscate my cousin's mobile phone. I even kept a close eye on her every day at the high school where I worked. With a little intervention, my cousin should be able to get back on the right track. My aunt did as I said. But a few months later, my cousin's favorite manjiao blogger became extremely popular. Even the blogger's disciples who did the flower hand dance together under the same account made a lot of money. They bought cars, bought houses, and became popular internet celebrities. My aunt was so jealous that her eyes turned red. She thought that I was jealous of my cousin and deliberately put obstacles in her way during her rising period, causing her to miss the opportunity to get rich overnight. My cousin hated me to the bone, thinking that I had made her lose the opportunity to form a couple with the cold and aloof Buddhist guy, using the excuse of tutoring her with her homework. The two of them trekked me onto the school rooftop and jointly pushed me off. Now that I've been given a second chance by fate, I will never make the same mistake again. Looking at my furious aunt and my cousin who stubbornly refused to admit her fault, I smiled. Aunt, you don't know this. Now is the era of the internet. Many big internet celebrities dropped out of school and did the flower hand dance. After a few years, they bought cars and houses and achieved financial freedom at a young age. Didn't some general make a comeback recently and is recruiting disciples? Maybe Stella can take this opportunity to get rich overnight. Seeing that I was agreeing with her, my cousin became even more excited. She said proudly, "Yeah, I'm now a big internet celebrity with 397 followers. My future is limitless. If you dare to mess with me again, the Stella family behind me won't let you off." My aunt had a low education level and didn't really understand what was going on. And I just felt speechless. The few hundred followers my cousin mentioned were either bots or primary school students who followed each other one by one. And what's with this Stella family? To make a living in the online world, you need luck. Without a certain level of education and knowledge as a foundation, even if you become popular, it's impossible to last for a long time. Seeing my mother giving me a meaningful look, I directly pulled her and said goodbye to my aunt. This time, you guys can fend for yourselves. My cousin came to school the next day with red and swollen eyes from crying. When she passed by me, she gave me a fierce glare. It happened to be the time when the Ministry of Education was conducting a spot check. The dean of the teaching department came to me and asked me to give an open class to show myself in front of the leaders. In my previous life, I was so focused on straightening out my cousin that I refused on the grounds of not having time. This time, I didn't hesitate to agree. If I perform well, it will be easier for me to be evaluated as an excellent teacher or a special grade teacher in the future. I prepared for a while and then led my class into the lecture hall. At first, everything went smoothly. Even the leaders sitting at the back of the classroom all showed satisfied smiles. When one is poor, one should perfect oneself. Do you know what the next sentence is, classmates? It wasn't until I asked this question. There was a slight glimmer in my cousin Stella's eyes. And she raised her hand high to answer the question. When one is rich, one should have a harem of wives and concubines. She blurted it out without hesitation. There was a moment of silence in the class. I could even see some people trying to hold back their laughter. That's wrong. It's when one is successful, one should help the world. I didn't understand what was going on in Stella's mind. I was a bit annoyed but didn't show it. I just motioned for her to sit down. Let's change the question this time. The frosty leaves are redder than the flowers of February. Which classmate knows what the previous sentence is? Stop the carriage and sit to enjoy the maple forest at night. It was still Stella. But this time, she didn't cause any more trouble. And I let out a sigh of relief. Very good. But my cousin was relentless. A somewhat lewd smile appeared on her dark and sallow face. Teacher, I have another question. How did they do it? Some students didn't react at first and were as stunned as I was. But a few classmates who were as obsessed with the manjawi culture as my cousin burst into wild laughter. I was immediately angry and annoyed. At an age when they should be studying, they had already picked up so many bad habits from manjawi. This shows how great its influence is. The dean of the teaching department at the back of the classroom was frantically giving me signals. I took a look and knew something was wrong. Several leaders from outside the school frowned and looked displeased. Stella, you are a student now. And your main task is to study and strive to get into a good university. Don't learn all sorts of messy things. This is the last time. I adjusted my expression, trying to make this matter go away as soon as possible. But I don't know which words irritated my cousin. She threw her pen down. Her voice was sharp and shrill. If I can't get into university, so what? I can just go and sell myself. There are so many people online who give tutorials on this kind of thing. If worst comes to worst, I can even go to the KK park. I can make a lot of money there. If I could still consider her previous words as innocent remarks due to her young age. This sentence made me clearly understand the harm that online jokes can do to children who haven't yet formed a correct value system. She was simply beyond redemption. Stella, shut up for me. I shouted at her sternly. And the leaders from outside the school sitting in the back row completely turned dark-faced and showed impatient expressions. Stop. 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 Cindy. How do you teach your students? Haven't you instilled the correct values in them? With this kind of situation, it's hard for me to believe in your teaching ability. I was unable to defend myself and could only lower my head and take the scolding. The school attaches the greatest importance to the school spirit and discipline. No matter what happens privately, it must never be brought out in the open. This time, I could only consider myself unlucky. My cousin praised me a few days ago for having the potential to make a living in the online world. She supports me. You old fogies. What do you know? Stella didn't care about making the situation worse. After saying this, she blinked her eyes innocently. As soon as these words came out, it added fuel to the fire. Nonsense. The elderly leader was so angry that he was fuming. Cindy, you'd better reflect on yourself recently. If you have problems with your own discipline, don't lead the students astray. As for the evaluation for excellence, you'd better get a few more years of experience. I felt like I was a mute eating bitter herbs, with no way to express my bitterness. Meeting my cousin's provocative gaze, I realized clearly that she did it on purpose. She was taking revenge on me. In the afternoon, I received a notice from the teaching affairs office that the remaining classes for today were cancelled. The school is like a small society. The incident that happened in the morning spread throughout the whole school within a few hours. Oh, it's this Cindy. She usually looks so gentle and refined. But I didn't expect her to be so dissolute in private that she even taught the students badly. How could it be fake? Her cousin is young and speaks without thinking. So what she said must be true. She's really shameless. I'm even embarrassed to say the kind of things she taught the students. Several cleaning ladies gathered together and pointed at me. The security guard passing by showed his yellow teeth. Where are you going to make money at night, Cindy? Let me know, and I'll go to boost your performance. I felt so disgusted that I got goosebumps all over my body and fled back to the dormitory as if running away. Just as I was about to take off my suit and change into my own clothes, I heard the sound of click, a sound of click, click coming from behind me. I was suddenly shocked and turned around to look. I saw my cousin Stella holding a mobile phone, looking annoyed as she adjusted the volume button. How did you get a mobile phone? And what did you take a picture of? I rushed over, trying to snatch the mobile phone away. But she was faster and immediately hid it behind her back. Tell me, did you take some pictures while I was changing clothes? Delete them immediately. Although I wasn't completely naked and was still wearing my underwear. But just thinking that the photos were stored in my cousin's mobile phone and I didn't know what she was going to do with them, I still felt a chill down my spine. Are you from the King dynasty? It's just a few photos. Why are you so anxious? My classmates all take pictures. And nothing happened to them. The person in front of me muttered softly. What did you say? Your classmates all take pictures? What on earth do you use these photos for? Stella's eyes darted around. And she said confidently. To exchange for egg-game character skins and Lolita dresses. It won't do any harm to let others see them. What are you pretending for? What are you pretending for? How dare you take pictures of me? You disrupted the class in the morning. And now you're taking pictures of me in private. Give me the phone and delete the photos immediately. After holding in my anger for so long, I finally couldn't hold it back and shouted at the person in front of me. I reached out to grab the phone. But my cousin wasn't happy about it. This is my personal property. If you dare to take it, do you believe that I'll call the police and have you arrested? Fortunately, I had the advantage in body size. Without much effort, I managed to grab the phone out of her hand, but it required a password to unlock, and I still couldn't open it. Why how dare you snatch my things? You're so uncool. Uncool woman. No wonder no man wants you. Stella burst into tears. Cindy. You little slut. How dare you bully my Stella? I shrill and her piercing voice sounded from behind. Slap. The next second, my face was slapped hard. The corner of my mouth stung and went numb. Hurting, I assume you mean, intensely. My aunt burst open the door of the dormitory fiercely and hugged my cousin tightly in her arms, relying on the leader behind her. She pointed at my nose and cursed. Stella was missing. And it turned out to be your doing. The principal has already told me. Isn't it just that my precious baby asked a few questions in your class? And you got criticized for it? Is it necessary to be so petty and pulled a child here to bully her? I even thought we were relatives. And I respected you so much usually. It turns out you're a beast in human clothing. It was already the time for afternoon classes. It was precisely because Stella had been staying here all the time that the teacher couldn't find her. So the teacher went to find my aunt. I looked at my aunt with a ferocious expression. Whether I tried my best to help them in my previous life or indulged Stella in this life, I was labeled as the villain. The faces of this family are really disgusting. I sneered coldly. Why do you think it was me who brought her here? Is it possible that your daughter brought her mobile phone to school and hid here to play with it secretly? I shook the item in my hand. How is that possible? At first, my aunt looked disdainful, but when she took a closer look, she found that it was indeed the model that Stella used. Her face immediately turned pale. If a student secretly brings a mobile phone to school, they will be given a disciplinary warning. And it may even be recorded in the file, affecting their further education. She immediately became anxious and pulled me aside. Cindy, I was impulsive just now. Please don't say that this mobile phone was brought by Stella. Just say it's yours. We're relatives after all. When she slapped me just now, why didn't she think we were relatives? But I don't have the time to argue with her now. Okay. But the condition is that you have to unlock the phone for me. Otherwise, how can I prove it? In the end, under the threat of getting a disciplinary warning, my aunt hesitated for a long time and finally read out the password. No way. My cousin immediately became anxious and jumped up to try to snatch the phone. But I was stunned on the spot by the content in it. Honey, you're so beautiful. Can you take off a few more pieces of clothing? Husband will buy you your favorite. I assume it's a game-related skin. You can correct it if wrong skin right away. A message popped up. On it. I assume you mean, there was a photo of me with half of my clothes taken off. Although my underwear was still on and it wasn't really revealing. Just thinking that the other person was having lewd thoughts about the photo made my stomach twitch, and I felt extremely disgusted. But the sending time was 10 minutes ago. And it was already impossible to recall the message. When I scrolled up, I was shocked to find that this man had actually spent a lot of money on my cousin. Baby, my tummy is growling. Brother, please order me some takeout. Stella had sent such messages several times. And the person on the other side didn't hesitate to buy McDonald's and small cakes and send them over. To express her gratitude, she sent a few photos of herself. Pictures of her in a cropped top for the exam paper and a red scarf as a tube top. But Stella was very smart and didn't show her face. So pretty. Husband really likes looking at such photos. But what do you look like? Baby? Send me a selfie to take a look. Stella didn't dare to take a photo of herself. So, there was the incident today where she was caught red-handed taking a photo of me secretly. I was so angry that my chest hurt. If she hadn't forgotten to turn off the flash today, perhaps I would have been kept in the dark all the time. And her chatting partners were not just one person. After exiting the current chat window, there were actually 3 or 4 other chat windows displayed on the main page. Stella generously sent photos showing her face to each person to meet their requests. My aunt obviously saw it too. Her face turned red and then pale. And she gave Stella a look of hating that she couldn't be better. In the end, she still chose to speak for her own family member. It's just a child's joke. It's just chatting with friends. Cindy, don't be too fussy. I sneered. A joke? She's swindling people by using my name. In case something goes wrong later, who will be responsible? Today, you must make things clear to the other party. I don't remember when I suddenly had so many boyfriends. What's swindling? My brothers are all really nice to me. Stella's voice was sharp, obviously dissatisfied with what I said. Hey, why won't you listen when I talk to you nicely? My aunt slapped her leg. And a glint flashed in her eyes. The people on the other side not only gave money but also bought things. And all you lost was just one photo. We're all relatives. If Stella makes a profit, it's like you making a profit too. Are you stupid? There's no need to explain this matter at all. Anyway, we're not at a loss. They take all the good things. But I have to bear the risks? Before I could get angry, the security guard at the door sauntered in and grinned. Cindy, the dirty business of you having multiple lovers has been discovered. Those men all say that they are your boyfriends. Now they're clamoring to find you and demand justice. Oh dear. When you do such things, why didn't you be more careful? Now look at what happened. When I rushed to the school gate, there were already several layers of people gathered there. There were passers-by who came to watch the excitement. The school's cleaners and security guards. The most eye-catching were several men who were shoving each other. I've spent so much money on her. A whole few thousand yuan. She should be mine. Where did you guys come from? Daring to snatch a woman from me. A man in his 40s with a full beard was shouting loudly. Bullshit. This bitch has also extorted a lot of money from me. I haven't even tasted what it's like to be with a female teacher yet. I can't let this money go to waste. Another young hooligan in his early 20s with yellow hair was also shouting with a red face. There was also an honest-looking middle-aged man among them, looking full of chagrin. I should have known better than to spend money on her. I thought I could marry a wife. But it turns out she's a slut. I don't know who shouted. Cindy is here. All the people's eyes turned towards me in unison. The bearded man couldn't hold his temper the most. His face was gloomy. And he stared at me intently. You bitch. I've spent so much money on you. And you actually dared to cheat on me behind my back. The young hooligan with yellow hair, on the other hand, looked indifferent and leered. Teacher, if it weren't for seeing the work ID in your photo, I'm afraid we would all have been kept in the dark. Well, stay with me for a month, and I won't hold it against you. As he spoke, his hand also restlessly tried to touch me. I felt a moment of fear. If it weren't for the large number of people around and the presence of the security guard, these men might have just laid hands on me directly. My aunt pulled Stella and cowered behind, not daring to breathe loudly. I was so angry that I didn't know where to direct my anger. You've got the wrong person. The photo was secretly taken by someone else. In fact, the person chatting with you was my cousin. I pulled the two of them to the front and motioned for them to explain. But Stella looked extremely scared, pursed her lips, and no matter what I asked, she remained silent. Compared with her usual way of acting up and being unrelenting, she was like a completely different person. My aunt, who had just been looking flattering, now pulled a long face and pointed at me angrily. Cindy, even if you don't respect me usually, now that you've caused such a big mess, you actually want Stella to take the blame for you? Everyone has seen that you have a chaotic private life. Using a child as a shield, don't you have any shame? Whoever causes the trouble should bear the consequences. Even though I'm your aunt, I won't help you. The security guard also chimed in. That's right. Cindy was suspended from classes this morning because of her conduct issues. It's not surprising that she could do such a thing. Fine. If you don't believe me, then let's take a look together to see who the person sending the messages really is. I was so angry that I almost laughed. I tried to reach for the mobile phone, but my hand touched nothing. The mobile phone that Stella had in her pocket had disappeared without a trace. I squinted my eyes and stared coldly at my aunt. Stella is just a child. If you put this blame on her head, how will she love in school in the future? Since you're heartless and want to expose this matter, don't blame me for being unkind. She leaned close to my ear and threatened me in a low voice. The next second, she shouted at the several hooligans. I'm her aunt. If she's made a mistake, she should be punished. Whether you want to be scold her. Just don't affect other people. The crowd became restless. The matter of me having multiple lovers, under my aunt's confirmation, almost became a certainty. Several men showed lewd smiles and reached out to pull me. Honey, let's go to a hotel together and have a good talk about how you should compensate us. Just then, the sound of police sirens rang out. Fortunately, heading fulfilledly, I had been careful just now and called the police before going out. Someone reported to the police, saying that the hooligans here are causing trouble maliciously. What are you all doing gathered here? My aunt's eyes flickered a few times. Sir, my niece has multiple lovers. Well, They came here to ask for an explanation. It's a family matter. Why did it even alarm you? I crossed my arms and watched her performance. Then do you dare to take out the mobile phone and let everyone see the chat records? This time, my aunt was unexpectedly straightforward. Sure. Go ahead. What do I have to hide? As I expected, the chat records in it, and even the WeChat account, had been cancelled with one click. She really was quick at doing this. But since you're already here, sir, please do us a favor and persuade my niece to pay back the money. This can't go on like this. I wasn't worried either and continued following her words. Then how should I compensate? There are 3 people, and they've all spent a few thousand yuan on you. Plus the mental damage compensation. You should give each of them 20 yuan and then kneel down and apologize. As an elder, I'll consider this matter settled. My aunt smiled at the police, looking as if she was thinking of me. That won't do. I came here with the intention of finding a wife. Without 70 or 80 yuan. Don't even think about getting rid of me. The honest man who had been silent all along, seeing that there was a chance to profit, couldn't help but make an excessive demand. It can be discussed. After all, we were in the wrong first. My aunt nodded and agreed with a smile. I didn't refute, but changed the topic and looked at the police. Can you check the IP address of the chat account? I don't know who the person who cheated the money is. But they also have no evidence to prove that it's me. If we can see where the account is, can't we figure out who it is? The police were also half convinced about my aunt's words. Hearing what I said, they nodded repeatedly. The young hooligan with yellow hair looked disdainful. Is there any use in making a pointless struggle? The location must be in the school. My aunt wanted to stop it, but she had no reason to. Before long, the IP address appeared on the screen. Building 306. Room 503. Fangin Community. The police's voice echoed in the air. I pretended to be surprised. Isn't this your home, aunt? You said the person who cheated the money was me. Could it be that I secretly came to your home to use the Wi-Fi? Oh, how would I know? Could it be that someone is deliberately smearing and spreading rumors? How about we stop the investigation? She was in a hurry now. She didn't expect that even after canceling the account, the police could still trace it back to her. After bullying me, she wants to just brush it off like this? In your dreams. Looking at the time when the messages were sent, most of them were after school. I was staying in the school teacher's dormitory. And other teachers can testify for me. So it couldn't have been me. During this time, both Auntie and Stella happened to be at home. Which one of you sent the messages? It's really hard to guess. I pretended not to see the way Auntie was winking at me. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone looked at the mother and daughter meaningfully. One was a married woman in her 40s or 50s. And the other was a just-turned adult senior 3 student. No matter which one of them did the thing of having an online romance, it would make people laugh their heads off. Why don't we go to your home and check? As long as we see if the purchased JK elite addresses are there, we can clear your names. After all, I don't believe that Auntie's family would do such a thing either. I blinked my eyes, looking anxious. But Auntie blushed and couldn't say anything for a long time, because she knew that the things bought by these men were all carefully stored by Stella in the cabinet. And if they were checked, the truth would be revealed. A long time passed. So long that several hooligans showed impatient expressions. I said, Auntie, numadado lo sorry. Is it that difficult to go and take a look? Did your daughter do this? Just as the hooligan was about to argue with Stella, Auntie looked as if she had made up her mind. It was me. It was me. She simply decided to face the music and took all the blame on herself. I was not surprised by this at all. After all, as a middle-aged wage earner, not many people would care if her reputation was a bit bad. But if Stella was confirmed to have done this, she wouldn't be able to stay in school anymore. What the hell? Auntie. I can accept it if it was with a student. But what are you doing here? It's so disgusting. Are you still sexually frustrated at your age? The hooligan with yellow hair was the first to get angry. Sister, you're older than me. You called me big brother, and asked me to buy you the JK style skins for the egg characters. Are you crazy? The honest man, seeing that the potential marriage partner he had in hand was gone, looked full of grief and indignation. However, the middle-aged man with stubble wasn't too excited. Elder sister. You see, there isn't much difference in our ages. How about? Looking at Auntie's expression as if she had constipation, I could hardly hold back my laughter. I cleared my throat and spoke. Now the truth is out. Auntie. Just as you said. Pay back the money that should be paid back and apologize that should be apologized. You know. At your age. You still do such things. If you did it, you should have the courage to admit it. Auntie, who originally wanted to apologize and leave, turned pale as a dish when I mentioned the money. She asked through gritted teeth. Isn't it better to leave some leeway when dealing with people? I'm your auntie. Why are you still bringing this up? I pretended to be surprised. Auntie, you just taught me to be brave enough to take responsibility for my actions. You've lived most of your life. This little money shouldn't mean much to you. Right? Or do you want to get something for nothing? Hearing me say this, those online dating partners were unhappy. Auntie, you deceived us out of our money and feelings. It's already good that we're not asking you for mental damage compensation. Quickly return the money we spent, or you'll suffer. In the end, under the witness of the police, Auntie tremblingly opened the bank card on her phone and transferred out a large sum of money. It was only after the crowd dispersed that she dropped her disguise and burst into tears. She pointed at Stella and cursed. You little wretch. You've ruined me. It's a full 100,000 yuan. Do you know how many years it will take me to save that much money? But my cousin didn't care at all. If you're poor, don't give birth to me. You gave birth to me, but don't take responsibility. Such a family of origin and really makes me feel sad. I have so many fans online. I can get money just by casually posting a video. You're really narrow-minded. Since Stella had a falling out with her several online dating partners, the frequency of her coming to school became lower and lower. It was just the most crucial time for Senior 3. Teachers of all subjects were explaining the final key points for the college entrance examination. Since Stella didn't listen, her grades naturally plummeted. From being in the middle of the grade at first, she suddenly became one of the bottom students. I don't know what Auntie was thinking, but she let Stella hold her phone and scroll through Manjawi every day. Soon, let out a low sigh. I saw my cousin in the videos of nearby friends. I'm looking for a cold and aloof Buddhist guy. I'm currently preparing for pregnancy. I hope to have a beautiful baby and become the most beautiful pregnant woman, so that I can join the pregnant woman army. Ordinary people will become old, and Lufa looks not long after giving birth. But I'm different. Even after giving birth, I'll still be like a baby, and my husband will surely love me to death. In the video, Stella was wearing the JK uniform she had deceived others for, pretending to twist and turn. The combination of her childish appearance and the sexy but low-quality clothes made it particularly uncomfortable to look at. There were many spiritual guys in the same city in the comment section asking for her contact information. Stella accepted everyone. She even sent me a message to show off on WeChat. Old hag. I'm a big internet celebrity now. I have countless suitors. Are you envious? One of them is the school bully of the neighboring high school. The kind with countless followers. He's pursuing me. I can't imagine how happy our baby will be. He'll be born as the child of a school bully. I was speechless after reading it. Do the combined ages of these two people even reach the size of my shoe? The so-called school bully she mentioned might actually be a good-for-nothing hooligan who fights every day. The Pregnant Woman Army was actually a brainwashing organization composed of a group of pregnant women without correct values, not minding making things worse. I directly forwarded several videos and chat records to Auntie. A few days later, the two of them came to my office. My cousin had an exaggerated makeup on, with tear troughs bigger than her fingernails, 2 streaks of black nose shadows, and mirror lip glaze covering most of her philtrum. If she was just influenced by the Manjawi culture a month ago, now she was completely Manjawiized. What do you want? I don't want to come to school. I've already agreed with the school bully brother that we're going to live together and prepare for pregnancy. Why do you always ruin my good things? Auntie, on the other hand, Was holding many gifts and had a big smile on her face. When someone offers kindness for no apparent reason, there must be something fishy going on. After arguing with me for a long time, she finally stammered out the purpose of this visit. Cindy, you know that the college entrance examination is coming up soon, and Stella's grades have never been very good. Do you think we should hire a tutor? I pretended not to understand and nodded solemnly. Yes. We really need to hire a good teacher to give her some tutoring. Otherwise, it's uncertain whether she can even get into a school. Auntie had tears in her eyes and was almost about to kneel down in front of me. Since we're all relatives. Cindy, can you do me a favor? I'll feel at ease if you teach Stella. Sure enough. This was what she was up to. After losing 100,000 yuan, Auntie's wallet was empty. And she naturally didn't want to spend more money on hiring a teacher. So what could she do? Naturally, hadn't the sai. She set her sights on me and wanted to get a tutor for free. With the lesson from my previous life, I naturally didn't want to get involved in this mess. By then, if Stella blamed me for ruining her relationship with the school bully, who could I reason with? Auntie, Heppel? We can't be so selfish. I shouted at the top of my voice. Acting? Who can't do that? The college entrance examination is coming soon. Not only does Stella need me, but every student in my class needs me. As the homeroom teacher, how can I be so selfish as to divide my energy for Stella and ignore them? These are the hopes of dozens of families. Auntie was stunned on the spot by my lofty words. Many parents who came to the school to inquire about their children's grades heard the conversation and became anxious. Of course, they wouldn't allow Auntie to a special treatment. Otherwise, who would take care of their own children? After several people talked one after another, in the end, Auntie blushed and could only lead dejectedly. After the college entrance examination ended, the result was obvious. Stella's grades were unprecedentedly bad. She wasn't even qualified to enter a wild pheasant university. But she didn't care at all. On the day of coming to school to fill out the college application forms, she was even overjoyed. You mean that with my grades, I can't get into any school? So, I can drop out of school. This is simply great. Most internet celebrities online have a low education level. It's precisely because they entered society earlier and those bookworms that they have more chances of success. As long as I drop out of school, that will be the first step to success. I looked at Stella coldly as she threw down the application form and didn't try to stop her. If I gave her good advice, she might even bite back and think that I was trying to prevent her from achieving success. Since that's the case, I want to see how you will become an internet celebrity in the end. During the summer vacation after the college entrance examination, in order to follow the old path of becoming a Manjawi internet celebrity, Stella found a job in an electronics factory. And she made friends with a group of like-minded spiritual girls in the factory. Photos of toilet warriors. Group photos of paper dolls. Buddhist guys from the Beijing circle. There was nothing they couldn't think of and nothing they couldn't take pictures of. Auntie came to my home several times, crying and begging. Cindy, you're a teacher. Go and persuade Stella. She hasn't been home for many days. She's been living in the factory and staying with a group of hooligans every day. She's only 18 years old. This child actually didn't fill out the college entrance examination volunteer form, and didn't even tell me about it. In the future, our family is counting on Stella. And there can't be any mistakes. Looking at my aunt who was crying her eyes out, I just felt it was ironic. If she hadn't thought there was profit to be made and indulged Stella in having online romances and cheating for money, how could a simple child have turned out like this? I advised my parents not to get involved, so as not to get themselves into trouble. After all, I had already experienced the consequences of meddling in other people's business in my last life. However, just a few days after we had some peaceful days, my aunt came to me again. She called the police and came to the school to look for me with a large group of people. The reason was that Stella had been deceived into joining a pyramid scheme company. The company claimed that it could turn the newly signed talents into A-list celebrities. Some celebrities like Bing Bang and Jifei were said to be their artists. Normal people wouldn't believe it. But the company targeted those with low education levels. coincidentally, having fulfilled my obsession. Stella, who was eager to become a big internet celebrity, having fulfilled my obsession, was attracted by the company's gimmick. She signed a shady contract and hadn't been home for more than half a month. My aunt was extremely anxious. When she went to inquire, she found out that if she didn't complete the tasks in the company's contract, she couldn't terminate the contract. And even her personal freedom couldn't be guaranteed. Looking at the Sky's liquidated damages, my aunt panicked. Even if she worked for a lifetime, she couldn't pay off this debt. After hearing all this, I was full of doubts. So, what does this have to do with me? My aunt slapped her thigh and threw a tantrum on the ground. You're my child's teacher. I trusted you so much. But you lead her astray. You didn't even tell me about the college entrance examination volunteer form, which caused Stella to have no school to attend. It's all your fault that my child is like this. And you should pay this money. At first, the police felt quite sympathetic. But seeing my aunt's unreasonable behavior, they gradually lost their patience. Madam, is this the person you said has harmed your daughter? Sorry. If that's the case, we can't help you. In the end, my aunt scraped together money from everywhere, and even borrowed high-interest loans to pay off the liquidated damages. She went to pick up Stella full of joy. But the scene in front of her completely broke her down. Stella was wearing a purple dress, with a slightly protruding belly, and there was a young man with yellow hair beside her. The two of them were chatting and laughing. How can you be so shameless? For a girl, the most important thing is her virginity. And you're actually pregnant. My aunt stepped forward a few steps, pushed the young man with yellow hair away hard, grabbed Stella's hair, and slapped her in the face. Ah! Stella wasn't paying attention for a moment and actually slipped and fell to the ground. Blood stained the cement road, and the screams mixed with curses resounded through the sky. In the end, Stella was sent to the hospital, but the baby couldn't be saved. I was about to become a pregnant woman. You damned old woman. You killed my baby. My mentor became a big internet celebrity by getting pregnant and having a baby. I was so close to success. Why don't you just die? As soon as Stella woke up, she cursed at her mother. But my aunt seemed not to hear it. Being traditional, all she could think about was that her daughter had lost her virginity. Where's that young man with yellow hair? He's the father of the child. Even though the baby is gone, you two have already had a relationship. Hurry up and find someone to get married. Otherwise, I don't think anyone will want you in the future. Stella blinked. Who said he's the father of the child? I got together with him after I was pregnant. I just wanted to have a child. And it didn't matter who the father was. There were so many people that day. And I can't remember clearly. You're so annoying. You old hag. I have to get pregnant again for my career. It's so troublesome. When she said this, it shocked everyone's values. How dare you? For a moment, the hospital ward was in chaos. And it was extremely lively. I watched this farce, and left with a smile. After these incidents, our family and my aunt's family were completely cut off from each other. It had been a long time since I heard news about Stella again. My aunt had been running around all day to pay off the high-interest loans she had borrowed, and she developed one illness after another. As for Stella, she was kicked out of the house by her mother and left to fend for herself completely. On Manjawi, I assume it's a platform name. You can correct it if wrong. I could still see the videos she posted from time to time. There were vlogs about preparing for a second pregnancy, and the daily life of her relationship with a person from the Beijing entertainment circle. Regarding this, I expressed my blessings. And I was preparing for the school teacher evaluation for excellence. My future still had a long way to go.